Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today is Booklist Thursday. This is this video series I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library. And every Thursday we bring you some sort of list or book topic we feel like talking about for the week. And this week we are going to talk about some books that surround some sort of medical condition. Definitely a lot to choose from as far as this category goes. So I'm going to talk about some that I have read that have really stuck in my mind and that I know that I'll remember for the long haul. And then I do have one that I have not read yet, but it is on my list to read. And let's go ahead and start with that one. That one is Still Alice by Lisa Genova. This is one that I actually got from Lindsay for one of our Christmas book exchanges a couple years ago. And this one I know follows a woman who is dealing with early onset Alzheimer's from what I'm understanding. And I think she's in her 40s, she's really young to be going through something like this, and just kind of how she and her family are dealing with that. And I've heard extremely, extremely good things about this one. It's also been adapted into a movie. So it's definitely one that I need to get to. And it is sitting on my shelves waiting for me. And then I want to talk about a very short one, and that is called And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. This is by Frederick Bachman, and this follows a man who is a grandfather, and he is also dealing with Alzheimer's and understands that he's going through it, and you encounter him sitting on a bench talking with his grandson and kind of going over his life and going through things and telling his story and definitely trying to keep that connection with both his grandson and his son. And you're also kind of watching him deteriorate at the same time. And I remember it being very sad, very, very sad, and very impactful for sure. It was written beautifully. It's a very, very short novella, but it packed a big punch. Next one is one that I read a very, very long time ago, and that is My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult. And this was one of the first books by her that I read. And I think it's one of her most popular as well, at least as far as her very, very backlist goes. And this one follows a young girl, and her sister has cancer. And she becomes the one person that they are able to take blood, cells, marrow, all sorts of things from her body to put into her sister to help her sister feel better. And you kind of watch as she feels like she's being used for this, feeling like this is the only reason that I'm here is to make my sister feel better. And what's the value in my life? No one seems to care how I feel. And I don't want to be in the hospital when I don't have to be, and all this kind of stuff. So it was very much an emotional roller coaster with that. And that ending. There was a movie adaptation for this one as well. I will say the movie adaptation really made me angry because it was not the same, and I didn't like that. So, yeah, I liked the book much, much better. And just the fact that they completely changed the ending, I was like, are you serious? So I had very strong feelings about that one, but that book is very good. And then next I'm going to talk about an author who I don't talk about much here because I don't, for the most part, really like this author's books, but this one was very good, and that's The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I did really, really like this book when I read it. I gave it 5 stars. And it was one of the first books I read when I joined BookTube because everybody was talking about it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon, and I loved it. If I read it again today, probably wouldn't give it as high of a rating, but the story was very impactful still. And this follows a young woman and a young man who are both in the hospital because they have medical conditions and they are very fragile, but they form this friendship and this bond while in the hospital. And you see them deal with their sicknesses, you see them deal with their limitations, but still try to maintain a relationship and, just kind of help each other deal and grieve and do all that stuff. I do remember it being a very sweet love story for sure, and a very hard love story because of all the stuff that they were going through. They were also very mature for being teenagers, I think. So there was that too. And yeah, so I think of the John Green books that I've read, that one was definitely my favorite, and it's kind of the only one that I have really enjoyed. All his other ones I haven't enjoyed really at all, to the point where I'm not going to be reading his books in the future, but that one was definitely a standout. And the last one I want to share is Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. Now, this one is interesting because it's not a book that is following somebody who has a medical condition. She is put into this coma. She ends up having an accident and she is in this coma, but she can still hear and understand what's going on around her. She's very much aware of that, but she can't open her eyes. She can't speak. She can't move. So it's a really interesting situation where her brain is doing one thing, but her body's doing the opposite. And you, through her, learn what actually happened to her based on the conversations that she's hearing and the memories that she's having as she's hearing these conversations around her in her hospital room when people think that she can't hear or understand what they're saying. So it was very, very interesting. That's one that I'd like to reread. I would like to revisit that one again because it has been a little while since I've read it. But I do remember that her being in a coma, but still being very much aware of what's going on around her, made that plot line really interesting. Okay, and those are some of the books that I remember having a big medical condition aspect to it that had a big impact on my reading to the point where I still remember them. And I hope that you guys enjoyed that. Please go over and check out Lindsey's channel today and see what books she's talking about that surround some sort of medical condition. And we will see you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.